Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 200 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. So can you believe it? That's right. 200 episodes of real life laughter, insights, and navigating the journey to financial freedom with thousands of people over the years. And today we're going to be taking a stroll down memory lane, reflecting on the incredible 4-year adventure of the Debt Free Dad podcast. Interestingly, the evolution of this show mirrors the transformative path of escaping debt, and we can't wait to spill the beans on the valuable lessons we've gathered along the way. So get ready for some golden nuggets of wisdom as we share how our experiences can light the way for your own financial journey. Plus, stick around as we delve into a treasure trove of feedback from you guys, our listeners. And it's not just a celebration today, it's a gratitude-filled, knowledge-packed extravaganza. So thank you for being a part of this incredible ride with us. And stay tuned for episode number 200.
You're listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast with Brad Nelson. Brad and his co-hosts experience the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck before learning the fundamentals of financial success. They are now on a mission to empower regular people to pay off their debt for good and enjoy happier, less stressful lives. Keep listening for inspirational interviews, tips, tricks, and practical advice to gain financial freedom.
Hey, welcome to today's show. So guys, can you believe it? We made it to 200 episodes. What do you guys think about that?
Oh my gosh. I feel like we should have had fireworks or poppers or something.
This would have been a moment for one of those bubble guns.
Yeah, it would have been the bubble gun coming back. That's right. We got to get one of those over to you, Chris. I want to see one of your Facebook Lives in front of your ice cream shop with one of them. Oh, too fun. But yeah, 200 episodes. That is pretty incredible. Like if you look at podcast statistics, you guys, and if you don't know a lot about podcasts, and this was pretty shocking to me. I didn't even know this. But here's just a couple. 90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3. Wow. Yep. That's incredible to me. They don't get past episode 3.
That's wild. Yeah.
Well, I wonder why that might be, but we're not going to get into that on the show today. But maybe just, I don't know, lack of confidence. Nobody's downloading the show. Commitment. Yeah, that's interesting.
Or probably the desire for it to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, I'm not going to keep doing it.
Oh, man.
I'm probably scared of it.
That is a good one right there. I'm sure there's a lot of those types in there. But yeah, that's 1.8 million who quit after episode 3. That's astonishing to me. And then of the 200,000 that are left, 90% will quit after just 20 episodes. So that's another 180,000 that are gone. And according to Listen Notes, guys, just in case you guys didn't know, I think we talked about this, I don't know, probably like 6 months ago, but the Debt Free Dad podcast now ranks in the top 5% of all podcasts worldwide, which is really weird.
It's the consistency, the determination. We keep showing up.
But I just remember, I just remember 4 years ago.
Chris and Katie.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I just remember 4 years ago just being like, you want to do a podcast? Like, sure.
Were you asked? I was voluntold.
You kind of were.
It was kind of just like, it was kind of like we didn't really have like a solid plan. We didn't like have this perfect, laid out. Here's 5-year plan, and by year 4 we're going to hit 200. That was just like, yeah, sure, let's try it and see what happens.
It was so awkward. I was like, I don't know this Ryan guy. Like, all right.
Oh yeah. Don't listen to like our first couple.
Don't go back to the first.
I was like, just a deer in headlights. Like, oh yes, what do I think?
So the challenge for all of you listening out there is go back and listen to the first 5.
Yes.
Brad's numbers all of a sudden go thousands of downloads in the first 5.
It is interesting when you go back to the beginning. I remember I still have my very first. I might have to share this. I should have. Maybe I will. Maybe we'll post it in the show notes. Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. It's the very first video I ever did running this business. It is so cringe.
Share it. Oh my gosh,
Brad, I think I saw that. And I think I gave you a bunch of feedback too, or at least I saw one of those early ones. When you were getting ready to do that very first presentation, I was like, well, Brad, you might want to do this. And I think I had like 40 things on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's weird to be in the top 5%. Even our goal, is to get even bigger than that. And we're just a bunch of normal people on this show. It's so weird. That's just weird to me. But a lot of people ask, especially, those who find out that we have this many episodes, and man, that's a lot of episodes. Like, how did you guys do that? And admittedly, we just decided to get started. It's kind of like what Amber said. I kind of just was like, hey, we're going to do this.
I'm sending you this microphone.
Yeah. We're sending you a microphone. We're going to start beginning of January. What was this, 2020? Right when that was a year of COVID too.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Even crazier. We didn't really have it all figured out. We just were like, hey, we listened to some other podcasts and this is what they do. We're just going to steal a few of those and put our own show together.
Yep.
And admittedly, it was really uncomfortable at first. It took a little bit of learning and, it was a lot. We just kind of threw ourselves into the fire. But we also kind of figured that we were going to suck for a while. And I think that's important to know, especially, if you think about, comparing our journey of this podcast to getting out of debt. When you first get started, like budgeting and saving and changing your behaviors, your habits, your choices, your mindset, you're going to suck at it for a little while. And that's okay. And I think that's one of the reasons why we want to share a little bit of this journey with you guys, because a lot of the things that we learned along this way is the same stuff that we all kind of went through when we were getting out of debt. So we kind of already were familiar with what it was going to feel like. And man, it did feel weird that first season for sure.
Yeah, one of my
just
favorite
like
quotes. Oh, go ahead, Katie.
I was just going to say, just like that first crappy budget, we always celebrate when someone's like, hey, I just put together my first crappy budget. It's like, way to go. That's like, everybody has it.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is just, and I think it's probably anonymous, but it's like, be brave enough to suck at something new, and I think, it was, like you said, it was uncomfortable. But I belong to a number of podcast communities, and when people ask questions or they hear how many episodes or how many downloads we've had or how many episodes we had, it's just, they're like, yeah, I'm on episode 5 and I don't have a lot of listeners. I'm like, yeah, we didn't either, because it's probably not very good yet,
Yeah.
and that's okay. I mean, it's not a shot against anybody. It's just like with debt. I mean, I remember a lot of our things at first, it wasn't great. It took a while to get things moving. And then once you get more comfortable, it gets better and it gets better. It gets better. It gets better. But it's continually like, we don't have it all figured out yet. We still don't have it all figured out.
No.
I mean, yeah. Are we way better than we were 4 years ago? Of course. But do we just know exactly what we're doing? Of course, no. We're still learning. We're still growing. Every day is an adventure. And every month or year that goes by, we get a little better and figure a little bit more stuff out.
Yeah. And I think Amber, or I don't know, did Amber or Katie, you guys, one of you guys already said this, is just the whole, we just committed to the process and we just focused on consistency. And I think outside of, there was only only a handful of weeks in all 4 years that we've missed, like on accident. One was this past year, obviously, when I lost my wife, Sarah. We took a break for a little while, understandably so. And then I think we had another time a couple years ago where we had taken a break for some reason. It was more like in the springtime, I want to say. But outside of that, I mean, we've been here week in, week out, outside of our normal time off when we kind of drop early December through the holidays and get back to it, in January. And so, I think, when people ask, how have you guys grown your show? And that's it. I mean, we just have been consistent with it. And I think you can take that same kind of idea and commit to your finances the same way. The reason why most people, suck at their finances, they're just not consistent enough with it. They're not consistent enough with paying down debt. They're not consistent enough with saving. They're not consistent enough with investing. They're just not consistent. They can do it for a few months, but then they stop and then they start again and then they stop and then they start again. And so I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of when it comes to our show is that we've just said, we are going to do it even when it's not fun. I'm here to tell you guys, it's not always fun. It's not. You know, there's a lot of times where, you know, we're sitting here banging our heads, and really it's for you guys, the listeners. It's really, what more can we give them to help them, to give them better perspective, to make the light bulb go off when it comes to getting out of debt and ending the paycheck to paycheck life. You know, it's not always easy to sit here and rack our brains and to write this content and to put this stuff out all the time. It's fun to do it when we get on here and record it, but it's the work on the back end that's not always fun. And it's the same thing when it comes to your finances. It's not always fun to sit down and do your budget or say no to that purchase that you really want, or, you know, behave better or whatever it might be. But it's the results that come from it that are the fun part. But the reality is, though, is the results aren't celebrated every single day. You know, you get those big wins once in a while, and those are great, but then it's right back to the grind the very next day to keep it going.
And I don't know about, you know, for me, I mean, I think a big part of like the why, you know, for me behind doing this podcast too, is like, you know, for me personally, like personal finance is it's still one of those taboo subjects I feel out there. Like if I just went, you know, like if I went to my whole family and said, hey, I want to lose weight. Yeah, that's great. Here's some books. Here's how you should do it. You come to the gym with me. Hey, I want to quit smoking. Here's all the stuff. Here's what I'll help you. I think that's amazing. I want to get out of debt. What? That's stupid. Yeah. Everybody has debt. That's just so dumb. And like, I wanted to be a voice, you know, out there that's just like making it okay to ask for help, making it okay to say, I don't know what I don't have any idea what to do with my finances. We shouldn't be embarrassed by it. It's okay. Like, we don't know how to do a lot of things. You learn, and you don't learn unless you ask. So that for me, that was like a big reason of why I wanted to kind of get on there. And then I just like that we're all just pretty much normal people. Like, we don't have like, you know, a, you know, huge building and, you know, kind of talking to you from our, you know, penthouse suite in the sky about why you should be paying off debt. We're just normal, everyday people that have normal incomes, live in normal houses, and that have all done this and are doing this. And so like, we're not sitting here preaching like we're just, you know, we've got it made and like, you people should be able to do this. Like we still struggle with it. We still go through it. You know, Katie, you're still going through it. But you've paid off a tremendous amount over the years. And that's what I just love about this. And I think it's resonating with people out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a struggle all the time. Like, this was the first podcast I ever listened to. And then all of a sudden I'm co-hosting it and I'm like, what? Okay. Hi, what are we doing? So, and yes. And I was going to share this since it was a milestone. I have, since July 2018, I have paid off on a single income $134,096. I tried to find another $4 before we got on here tonight, but just couldn't do it. So, yeah, but it's incredible. Every step of the way. And like this month, I've just been spending money like there's no tomorrow because all these things come up, and it's like, okay, well, you know, we'll tighten things up for the next couple of weeks, but it's not like a stress weighing me down. Like, oh my gosh, where is this money coming from? What are we going to do? It's a process, and it's not perfect, and you just have to get back on the wagon and you know, the steps. I know we have a lot of people in our group that say, oh, I have to like completely start over. And it's like, you're not starting at zero, because you're starting with experience. You know what the plan is, you know what the steps are. So you're just, it's a step back. It's not like all the way back to square one. So just be proud of yourself. You know that you messed up. It's okay. Everybody messes up. Get back up and start where you know you need to go.
Right. Yep. Well, and I think, you know, talking about, you know, all of us here on this show, you know, Katie, you mentioned you haven't really listened to many podcasts before. That's not the goal of this show, is to be the most professional podcast out there. Right. The goal is to have normal people come to the table who are doing their finances different. May not mean that you're, you know, got the best sounding podcast voice or anything like that, because that stuff doesn't matter to us. It really matters about getting home to those people that are living the same life that we are, that have the same types of challenges that we do. And we're just sharing like, hey, here's how we overcame them, and here's how we all got to the other side. And I I think we've all done that by taking those small positive steps, just like you said, Katie. It's the same thing that came to this show. I mean, if you look at our podcast graph of our downloads for this show, it's crazy. It looks like a staircase. And that's what we teach a lot. You know, it's about building a small staircase to success. And, you know, it's one little step at a time. And yes, you may take a couple steps backwards here and there, but if you keep going, if you're still consistent, you'll still keep building that staircase. And that's what our graphic looks like over the last 4 years, is just this little tiny staircase. And this is the same thing when it came to all of us getting out of debt. It was just building that small staircase to success. So focus on that. What are some of the positive things that you can do every single day with your finances, no matter how small they are, to help you improve and to keep you moving forward? And then I think the other thing is, you know, obviously this kind of gets covered a little bit with consistency, but I think there's a lot to be said about someone who just doesn't quit. So many people are just quit so easily. And I get that there's probably a lot of reasons on why that might be. I get that there's probably a loaded, you know, reason. It's a ton of different reasons, but I think you just got to find it within yourself to just stick with it. And I think that's what we have done with this podcast, and feeling like, hey, if we can just keep it going, like eventually things are going to move. And this year was the year that we saw those download numbers finally start getting to where we thought that they should be. But it took us almost 4 years to get there. I mean, think if we felt that way after year one, think about how less of people would have gotten help because we decided to quit and say, you know what, this isn't working. But we didn't. We kept it going. And I think, you know, the same thing comes when your personal finances, that there's going to be sometimes days, weeks, months where things aren't going to feel like they're going your way. And too many people will throw in the towel and say, what's the point? This isn't working. We're always going to be in debt. We're always going to have payments. And the reality is that this is just not that true. It just means that you're just going through a rough patch. You need to just stick with it. And, you know, it's amazing the success you'll have just by committing that we're just not going to quit this. We may tread water for a little while, and that's okay, but we're just not going to quit.
I think this is where it comes down to, are you making that a reason to get ahead and like work on this? Or are you going to make it an excuse and be like, well, I can't do it. I failed at it. I can't keep going because I didn't do it right the first time. If Edison had stopped after the first time he tried to make a light bulb, we would all be sitting here with candles probably, because, you know, it took him like 1,000 different tries before he finally figured out what works.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of motivation that comes from the haters too. I will say that. So find some haters in your life. You know, I think that's okay. You know, finding people that, you know, are kind of rooting against you. I feel like for this podcast, man, I was like, when I told a few people that we were doing this, they're like, what are you, you know, come on. I'm just like this business, starting this business. People told me I was crazy. I that motivates me more than anything. It's like, yeah, we're going to go. And I'm going to show up.
For some, that's like that reverse psychology though. Like for some, it's like, it works really well, but for others, that could be detrimental, and that's what's making them quit.
It can be. But man, for me, I'm going to show up every week. I'm going to post that stuff on my social media and be like, hey, I'm back again this week.
Every time we get a hater comment, Brad shares it. He's
every
like,
time.
One, guys.
Every time. Hey, we've said it before. If you're not pissing enough people off, you're not doing enough, right? And that's the truth. It really is the truth, because, you know, the stuff that we're talking about here, getting out of debt, it can be a little bit taboo for a lot of people. This is information they've heard for the first time. It's challenging some of their mindset that they've had. And that rubs people the wrong way, but it means like we're doing our job by saying, hey, there's a different way of doing this stuff.
And you're going to have that in your personal finances too. Like I had it. Oh, that debt thing. I remember that comment. Like it was yesterday, you know, yeah. You want to go do this? No, I can't. It's not in the budget. Yeah. Oh yeah. You're doing that debt thing. Like she was so like discouraged and disappointed in me almost. I'm like, yes, I am.
So
go ahead, Chris.
So for me, you know, I mentioned this last week that I had a podcast, and I felt really good at the beginning of this one when you told me that most people don't make it past 3. And then you said most people don't make it past 25. I'm like, yes, I made it to 56. Okay. But the reason that I stopped doing it, and of course you made me feel terrible when you're like, don't quit. Well, I did. But for me, the reason I stopped doing it, I think it was the editing. It was a lot of the things that I was doing all by myself that really took up a lot of time and made it not as fun. If I had hired somebody to do the editing, I probably would still be doing my podcast now. But here's the lesson, I guess, what I want to get to is a lot of these things that you want to accomplish in life are difficult. And yes, you're going to have a lot of naysayers, but you need to find somebody to put on your team, an accountability partner, somebody that you can talk to, or like this Roots program, this podcast, people who are going to be there to encourage you, to help you. And if I had had that help, again, I would probably still be doing it. All right. And you've got to have those people in your life that can be there to support you, to hold your hand when you need it, if you're going to accomplish this. For me, it was my wife. We had a shared goal. But Amber, I told my brother, sort of like you, Ryan, you and Brad, that I was going to get out of debt. He's like, what? And I even shared that I was making my own laundry detergent to try to save money. He thought that was the dumbest thing in the world. But guess what? A few years later, he came to me asking for help on how to get out of debt. And we helped him get there, sort of like the two of you. So I've got a similar story. But you need those accountability partners. You need those people in life that are going to help you accomplish the goals.
And I think even through this podcast, I mean, I think, especially the first couple of years, there were moments where I was, we've had conversations where I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And I think we supported each other through some of that, just kind of like talking bigger picture. What are we trying to do? That sort of stuff. And I totally agree with that, Chris. I think it's super important to surround yourself. Like I said, nearly 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck and are kind of in this mindset of debt is normal. So chances are when you say that's what you're doing, you're not going to be surrounded by people who are just willing to like, oh, I've totally done that. You're going to be surrounded by mostly people that are like, you're crazy. That's not going to work. I don't know why you're doing that. Craziest idea ever. So you need to find people that share that goal.
And now I share that I'm accomplishing this like I am. It's taken me 5 years, but I post about it all the time because I'm like, this has helped me. If you are struggling, like, just listen, just give it a shot and, see if something can help you, because maybe you're scared to reach out and ask for help. Because I was single. I've been single this whole time, a single income. And I'm just like, I was embarrassed because I could barely make ends meet and I was struggling and I didn't have anyone to really say, hey, you know what? I suck at money. Like, the rest of my life looks like great on the outside to everybody else, but I was stressed out and going nuts, like trying to figure out how to make life better. And I didn't have anyone to talk about it with. So it was just a nice community to feel like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone in this. And you're not alone. If you're struggling with finances, welcome. We want to help you here.
Yeah. And I
want to add to that real quick is Ryan mentioned something earlier about why he does this podcast. And that was sort of the reason I got into financial coaching, was because I felt like I've been there, done that. And I wanted to be a mentor for other people. Or I wanted to be sort of the guide that could help people get to where I was. And so I just, being here on the 200th podcast, I want to say, Brad, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this, because now you've allowed me the opportunity in a small way to sort of mentor and help people on their journey. And I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where all of us are at, is that we have seen the dramatic effect that this has had in our lives. And all of us are just here really just wanting to help other people out there, like, with this. I think, there's no other really major reason. That is the why or purpose behind this show, is to help people get that light bulb to go off that you can do this. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk to some of you with some of your comments. We asked you guys in some of our Facebook groups and, hey, what this show has meant to you. We're going to come back and share those as we celebrate episode 200 after the commercial break. So the Totally Awesome Debt Freedom Planner is helping so many people make consistent progress with their finances. Whether that be building emergency funds, paying down bills, budgeting, tracking paydays, saving up for larger purchases, goal planning, and planning for those irregular yearly expenses that always seem to catch you by surprise. Now, the Debt Freedom Planner will help you take the stress out of managing your money. And if the thought is running through your mind, hey, I just need to have a simple tool to get my finances together, this planner is perfect for you. Head over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu at the top of the page, and order your Debt Freedom Planner today.
Let's talk about all the good things, all the bad things that may be. Let's talk about debt. Let's talk about debt.
And that sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show. And today we did a little different. We asked, what do you like most? Or how has this show helped you most? So we have a Rita Toos, hearing how normal people like me have achieved their goals.
Yeah, that is awesome. I like that. We're going to have that one probably show up a lot. By the way, we got quite a few of these we want to just kind of bounce around with here today. But Rocky Mankey says, hearing that I'm not alone and knowing that I can get out of debt like everybody else. And that's what I love. I love that you're feeling that confidence that you can, because that's what the show's all about. That's great.
And then Jody Palmer says, I love everything about it. Hearing the stories helps me to know that I'm not alone. It brings a feeling of accountability as well as wanting to accomplish more, so I too can share my wins.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And Josiah Jones, the personal stories, tips, and tricks. I've had many I'm not alone moments. I'm seeing a theme here.
Yeah, how cool is that, though? I'm not alone. Like, how big of a deal is that for so many people? Like, how many people just hide the shame and embarrassment that they're, behind closed doors with this, that they're the only ones, that they're on the island all by themselves. And the reality is so many people are living this way. So I love that.
Most people on social media are living that way, right? I mean, you that's, you're 100% not alone. Chris Grimm, so they like the mix of co-hosts we have. I think that was intentional as we brought more people on. I mean, that's one of our goals. I mean, is we want different experiences, not just the, same experiences all the time. They've each have gone through getting out of debt, but they've all had different experiences and identify with each one in a different way. Hey, she liked my chicken joke. So the silly thing stuck in her mind is when my brother was commenting about, children leaving home and becoming adults. And he said, I finally get the big piece of chicken. It's just something funny I like to say every once in a while. Because it is, when you have kids your whole life and you raise them, you sacrifice everything for them. And it's just now that they're getting older and they are kind of on their own, we don't have to spend all the money on them. It's kind of nice to not have to do that. Yeah. But thank you for liking my joke.
That's funny. Nicole Franks says, I really like all the co-hosts. Also, I love how you keep it real, but in a sincere way. You all give great advice, and I enjoy listening to everyone. I love the content on the podcast. It has really motivated me to get on my journey. I am literally looking for more after I listen to one episode. Everyone is so down to earth, and it's relatable because everyone shares their stories. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love that.
That's awesome. Carrie Kluk says, I found the community through discovering the podcast. It was the only podcast I found that dealt with specifically with debt payoff and was geared towards beginners. There are tons of personal finance pods out there, but they cover a huge range of topics that are mostly geared towards more advanced or financially independent individuals. This helped me grind out debt payoff and provided basics and a lot of motivation, which is, I think you guys just need to write the marketing content for our show.
I had goosebumps kind of rereading.
Right. That's what it's all about. That's what the show is all about. I love it.
Well, I mean, there's the common theme of Mary Breitbart says the topics, it's real folks talking about the real life, and Cindy Kirkpatrick knowing that there are others on the same path. That's the message for everybody out there, is you're not alone. Mm-hmm. Okay. What you're going through is normal. And hopefully through this podcast, you learn how to come out on the other side better and in a better position, and hopefully in a position where you can help others as well.
Yeah.
And I like this one from NEL. Every podcast helps chip away at the denial built up over years of bad habits and financial vagueness. I am more aware of my cycles now, and yes, there is a cycle. I can go a long period of time without spending on anything unnecessarily, only to find myself suddenly in a phase of great temptation towards mindless spending. That has been me the last month for sure. What I'm noticing is that I'm aware when this comes up now. I'm also noticing that things don't satisfy the need to acquire. I love the podcast because I see them as planting high quality organic seeds that I can go back to when a wobble arises. Eventually my thought pantry will have only stuff that's good for me in it. I love that.
Yeah. All awesome stuff. Hey, I just want to give a huge thank you to all of our podcast guests that have been on over the last 4 years. A lot of them have been our Roots members. These are real life people that have gone through our program, that have been willing to come on here, open up the doors to a lot of the mistakes that they've made with their finances that have really driven the downloads and the popularity of the show, to show that, hey, not just the 5 of us on the show are people that are doing this. Like, there's a lot of other weird people out there like us that are doing this too. And so I just want to thank all those guys. And also to all of you, Amber, Chris, Ryan, Katie, to come on here and spend time with us. You know, we had this crazy idea 8 years ago that we could help people with this. And like we talked about, so many people told us that we were crazy, and here we are 200 episodes in. And hey, you guys want to go another 200 more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Ryan shakes his head no.
No. It's been awesome. It's been an awesome ride. I really, it has been one of the coolest things I've been a part of. And to know that we're making a difference in people's lives. I mean, that to me, that's why, I mean, you know, I love that. Hearing these things, I mean, there's like goosebumps as we're reading this, because at the end of the day, we're sharing a message, and like someone's life is changing because of that. And that's awesome.
Yeah. Super cool. Hey guys.
And can we just thank Brad for getting this started? He is the debt-free dad. And to Sarah, I think we should also call out that she was a big part of why this started.
Huge part.
And
Yep. Absolutely.
thank you all for how you have changed our lives and the hundreds, if not thousands, of other people. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
For sure.
Yep, it's been a pleasure. So thank you guys. Hey, remember to get all the resources, show notes, and links for today's show and all of the other 200 episodes that we have, go to the debtfreedadpodcast.com. By the way, guys, this is our last and final episode of this season here in 2023. We're going to be back here in January, kicking off 2024 with lots of great new podcast episodes for you guys. In the meantime, if you have questions or need anything else, send us an email over at info@debtfreedad.com. We're happy to answer any questions there. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next year. And as a reminder, if you're just getting started with our podcast, by the way, you have 200 episodes to get caught up on. You better get busy. But maybe you've been listening for some time as well, and you're interested in how you can get started on the road to financial freedom. Go visit our website at debtfreedad.com. Sign up for our free Life Without Payments workshop, where we're going to show you the first steps that have helped tens of thousands of people just like you and I kick financial stress and worry for good. We'll see you guys next year. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Debt Free Dad. If you found value in today's episode, please leave us a rating and review. We so appreciate it. For resources, show notes, and links mentioned in today's show, visit debtfreedad.com. Catch you next week.